but I knew we were going to schedule it. We'll have plenty to talk about. People have seen it all over anyway.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
I'm Janice Edwards, and this is Bay Area Vista. Recently, Mike Fox Sr., a wholesale beverage distributor and well-known Silicon Valley philanthropist, announced that he was closing both his account and his multi-million-dollar line of credit with Bank of America. The action was taken as a result of Mike's interaction with People Acting in Community Together, also known as PACT, and the bank's alleged actions related to home foreclosures and business loans. So today we'll spend time talking with Mike about what ultimately led to his decision and about his next financial steps. Now, because of the Occupy movement, there's a lot of conversation these days about the 1% who are among our country's wealthiest and the 99% who are not in that category. So many see Mike's action as one man's stand to create a bridge between these two worlds. Join us for Bay Area Vista, coming up next.
Conklin Brothers of San Mateo has provided in-studio flooring for Bay Area Vista. Conklin Brothers' motto is, "You can count on us."
Welcome to Bay Area Vista. I'm Janice Edwards. Today we're talking with Mike Fox Sr., the founder of M.E. Fox, a company whose products for distribution include beer, water, and energy drinks. He and his family have been well known in Silicon Valley for years, but Mike's decision to divest his substantial personal capital from Bank of America and close his multi-million-dollar credit line has really generated substantial media attention. So in the interest of full disclosure, I should mention that Mike and I both worked with Junior Achievement of Silicon Valley in the past. And additionally, in preparation for today's show, I contacted Bank of America's Media Relations Department, and the response was, "We will not comment on a customer's actions." The California Banking Association also declined to send a statement or representative for today's interview. So Mike and I will have the whole show to talk. Mike, welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Nice seeing you, Janice.
Yes.
It's nice being here, and thank you for accommodating my schedule today.
Oh, certainly, certainly. Well, we're glad to have you because your stand has really galvanized so many people. So I'd like to go back a little bit. I mentioned you've been working with PACT, and you said that for over a year they'd been talking with you. So let's talk about what changed from maybe that initial conversation to your decision to close your accounts.
Well, PACT and the chief executive there, Matt Hammer, has been talking to me about this for over a year, and at the time he originally brought it about, I wasn't in a position to make a move. Very frankly, I was renewing a line of credit and so on, and I didn't want to rock the boat. But I believed in everything that they did. I've been very active with PACT through their immigration policies, and mainly the many things that were the oppression of the economically disadvantaged. And I've been a major contributor to PACT, and my wife and I were honored by them 2 years ago, along with Father Paul Locatelli of Santa Clara University, and a gentleman, I think it was Dr. Carrasco, who had worked with Cesar Chavez. It was very impressive to share the award in 3 places. So I just was so involved in everything that PACT did, and I believe they needed support in what they're doing, and they're getting that support, and they're getting support from all over. A woman stopped me on the street the other night, and she said, "You're Mike Fox?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I saw your picture in the newspaper. I admire what you've done."
Wow.
And I said, she said she was from Texas, and the letters and communications on Facebook, I never really look at it, but they're just coming in one by one.
Exactly. So many people have responded internationally.
Right, and I had a woman in New York said she was going to buy one of my products, but I don't sell it in New York. She was so impressed. And
well, it's been good for business in that way, too.
Right, and so it's just overwhelming that the people want to be expressing their needs. A woman from Manteca wrote to me 4 pages, and I thought initially that her letter was going to ask for some money. Mm-hmm. She merely wanted to tell me what she'd been through with the bank. She was a single mother, then and went through a divorce, and all kinds of trials and tribulations, and just she was
Trying
just
to retain her home?
Yeah, and just completely emotionally distraught over this whole thing, and really articulated it very well in 4 pages.
Wow.
Explained the whole problem. It's amazing to see how people were treated, and really feel badly about it. And I look at, the bigger you are, the more responsibility you have. And if anyone has that responsibility, it is the Bank of America, whom I had great relations with for years.
So, and I was wondering when you made this decision, because you did do it on bank transfer day, which was a national.
I wasn't aware that was coming up.
Oh, really? So
it was
you
the day before that. I wasn't even aware of that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
So, right, just
yeah.
before that, you made that call, and the call then was for people to switch from mega banks to credit unions because of
Right.
a lot of the foreclosures that have gone on. And now, even as we're taping today, the news is that foreclosures are going up because the paperwork has been regulated that was, I guess, out of compliance before. So people have said this is one of the biggest civil rights issues.
Yeah, it is.
And-
I come to the civil rights. I don't really identify with the Occupy movement, however, because in my sense, although it's meaningful, it's sort of counterproductive in some ways. It's getting some attention, but if you really look at like Wall Street, which is a bad guy in many places, but the various pension funds of all the unions have monies invested in Wall Street and in the larger companies. We don't want to destroy those funds, and many nonprofits from Harvard to Stanford, University of Notre Dame, and all of them have money in the market, which sustains education, faculty salaries, scholarships. So we don't want to destroy that. We just want to get some attention, I think. And then one thing that I really, I'm in the beer business, and we import several beers from foreign lands. And when a container of beer from Ireland doesn't get through the dock,
Because
our
of the
drivers,
port.
the port, our drivers don't have work to do. The retail clerks don't have shelves to stock. So that hasn't happened, but that is the counterproductive.
Well, right, you bring up that point,
Right.
which is what a lot of people have said, and there certainly in Oakland there have been debates about people saying we're part of the 99% who are being hurt because
yeah.
of the Occupy, and then people have brought attention
Sure.
to issues throughout the Bay Area, Occupy Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
We've seen it, and I think it is part of a movement to bring attention, but then the question becomes how effective is that, and what are the strategies that will really make a difference? You mentioned that you'd had good relationship with Bank of America. Did anyone approach you before to say, Mike, change your mind? Or
No, I never really told the bank
Okay.
what I was doing, but I've known many of the chairmen of the Bank of America, all the senior executives. They've been to my home. I've worked with them in various nonprofit committees and had great relations. Today, I couldn't tell you one person to call at the Bank of America. I don't know anybody. They've lost that relationship. The fellow that was head of Nations Bank, this Hugh McCall, came out and met with the 3 or 4 of us, and he told me how interested he was in community, and that he knew I was, and he'd help me any way he could. Never heard from him again. I thought he'd be an easy touch for some money. But the character of the bank had just changed so dramatically, and they were a very people-oriented bank, and now they've destroyed all that themselves.
Now, when you think about your relationship and what you're perceiving with Bank of America now, people would say, well, is that any different from some of the other major banks? Because you're going to have to put your money somewhere,
That's
or
right.
the credit union. And do you ultimately, is there one that you think is doing better?
Well, I'm right. There are other banks. I have parked some money at another major bank because I had an account there, and my wife was worried about her ATM card. So immediately I was able to achieve that. But I have been talking to several smaller banks in the community, Heritage Bank for one, and then another bank has called me Pinnacle Bank, and another bank, Focus Bank, which loans a lot of money to nonprofits.
I see.
So I'm my daughter is out of town till Sunday, so she handles most of that, and so she'll look at it all, and it'll take us. it's very complicated to move accounts.
Yes,
the
especially when
business
you're talking
account.
about substantial
My personal
accounts.
stuff is easy,
Right.
but the line of credit and all that, we have what they call a lockbox, where customers deposit money to this lockbox, and that's about a 6-month procedure.
Yes.
But it's all in the working.
And that's one of the things that has been daunting for some people who felt like, well, it's really inconvenient. But even today,
yeah.
you were saying you heard another story of a testimony of someone saying, "I'm inspired because of what you're doing." Now, when your family found out about your stand, was there unanimous support? Was there a concern?
Well,
Did you have to have a family meeting about this?
I was in Hawaii at the time, and Matt Hammer had called me, and I said, yes, let me just tell my daughter and see what we have to do. And then she wrote me a 3-page missive on all the procedures that we had to do, and not that it's going to be difficult and costly, she said, but it's not unachievable. And then my son and my 2 sons and my wife, as I articulated, they were tentative. That we haven't had a meeting, but we will have a meeting. My daughter's in Mexico, and she'll be back Sunday, and we're having a meeting Monday afternoon, and we'll get things decided. But
so even with that cost, though, because that's really what we're talking about, and people are saying here that it may involve sacrifice, but it's the principle.
A simple cost is just advising customers. It's $5,500. Just a mailing is $5,500, but there's several other accounting costs and running 2 parallel systems and things like that. But the cost is not the reason. That it's principle and social justice, and what I've evolved into is economic justice, which is the disparity of wealth, especially in this community, is just very, very egregious.
How have your colleagues responded?
I haven't had much contact with them. At the PAC meeting, people came up to me, and other people are talking. Mainly it's communication from the public over Facebook and blogs of the Mercury News, and the response is it's just heartwarming to see. I don't really care about the big companies. It's the man and woman on the street who is really affected. Big companies are going to find their money somewhere, but where the man and woman on the street are going to find their money is very difficult.
Yes.
And they really are at a loss.
Yes, many of us are. The struggle these days is daunting, and people are folding many times under the weight of it. So that's the reason that your example has inspired so many people.
It is. It has to. You have to be responsible for your community and your environment and everything. And and I look at it as moral and ethical. And it's just overwhelming how people are treated.
Yeah. What do you think will happen, say, if we're forecasting 2 years down the road? I mean, we've seen the economy just stagnate in many ways, and things continue to get worse. What are your thoughts about this movement, your action, other people's protest even? What do you think will ultimately happen?
Well, I think liquidity is really where it's at. The banks have to loosen up on money and loan money. And I have a barber who's been in business for 10, 12 years down at the Fairmont Hotel. It took him 2 or 3 years to get a loan to buy a condominium, and they wanted 40% down.
Yes.
And this is the economic world. I mean, he makes the world go round. My wife just did this remodeling. I said, we should say we did the remodeling. And I can't tell you how everyone who worked on the house, painters, carpenters, plumbers, also, thank you so much for getting this work done. It's keeping us working.
Yes,
and
it's critical.
And it really is. And the loaning of money is what really makes it happen. Home building is the very essence of the economy.
Yes. And
it's just terrible that the banks are not loosening up the money. I met Barney Frank in Washington, D.C., and I don't know if even he knows either that I did have a conversation with Congressman Norman Netta 2 days ago, and he's very much in support of this, and he's going to be 80 years old today.
Wow.
Tomorrow.
Well,
no,
happy birthday, Norm. I know.
On Saturday,
see him
the
often.
12th,
We wish him.
day after Armistice Day.
Yes.
But he said, and he really knows the situation, that it's egregious what they're doing. He said they're sort of double dipping. They're taking the money and loaning the money out and not costing them anything.
Well, now, do you think with the whole world being in crisis, we're looking at Greece, Italy, is there really a viable solution if the whole system is changed?
I don't know, and I think that's one of the difficulties that we have, is that we're not dealing with a local economy or a United States economy. There's an economy throughout the world that's affecting everything. And this computer trading and everything, they move so fast that we don't know what's happening, and the people don't know. Congressman Lofgren was talking to me about a bill that would place a fee on every trade to discourage these massive trades that go on with a computer. And she said, well, the Republicans were against it. She didn't know where it would go, but it has to slow down on that, because if you're just out there trying to make a move, you're just lost. And I look at the economy. I'm in a very basic business. A fellow Joe Biden had Joe the plumber. I have Joe Six-Pack. So I'm really in touch with the community and the person. You don't need a bank loan to buy a six-pack of beverages. And I see that right now our business is too good. People, you see that they're not spending money on travel or anything else, but they were able to buy a six-pack of beverage, stay home, and watch the World Series. And our business shouldn't be as good as it is.
With everything being as bad.
With everything is bad, but you know there's nothing else to do. There's
the simple pleasures, and
simple pleasures.
And we have to say, and that all that's good in moderation.
We have to. I'm not talking about people who are depressed and the addictions
no, I know.
and all that. It's just having a friend over to watch the World Series, and not doing anything else. It's the parking lot at the airport is practically empty. Las Vegas has had a very hard time.
Yes, you just see it everywhere. You see it any downtown area you go to. You see so many shops that are closed.
I was back in Pittsburgh when Mrs. Clinton was running for president, and I went there to work the taverns and the steel workers and the plight they've had for years. They had no money, no medical benefits, no nothing. And they thought I was an FBI agent when I walked into the tavern. But I really talked to the people in Pittsburgh who have had plight for years.
Yes, I know. Well, and you're always reaching out to the community. You've done so much, as I mentioned, in terms of investing in Silicon Valley to help corporations and companies and nonprofits keep going. How did you develop this vision? You were born in Chicago, and family business brought you out, you and your wife out here. But what were the lessons you learned growing up that have led you to the decisions that you make now? Well,
I went to a Jesuit high school, a boarding school in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. A small town of 5,000 people with nothing to do with. The Jesuits there taught us social justice, and it was ingrained in us, and I really believed in it. And then later on, Pedro Arrupi was head of the Jesuit orders, and he came out with his mantra was men and women now for others. And I've always been that way, to do things for others. I've been so fortunate in life that you have to do things for others, and it was just ingrained into me to do that. And
that's so important.
And it's rewarding, and it's personally rewarding, and I enjoy it.
Now, having that as part of the foundation, your spiritual foundation, and everything, and when you started business, did you have, I would imagine, many challenges at times when it comes to making decisions? Are you going to do it in alignment with those foundational values, or make other decisions where others are encouraging you maybe to cut corners, take shortcuts?
No, I've always tried, and I'm the longest tenured member of the Markowitz Center for Ethics at the University of Santa Clara.
Yes.
And I'm really involved in ethics, with the difference of ethics, morality, legality. People don't even have it straight. And I've always tried to, ethics, you don't make conclusions, but it teaches you how do you want to think? What do you want to be? You have to follow your conscience and your values no matter what. And I've done that politically and everything. It's quite notoriety. I supported a young woman, Cindy Chavez, in San Jose. It was quite a bit of notoriety, but I thought that there was a social justice matter with Cindy, and I still think there, and I still stick my neck out, as it were, politically for what I believe is right, and even if I believe is wrong.
Yes, and speaking up in that way. And
Right.
that is one thing that people can look to. So you're a grandfather. This is something you've instilled in your children and your grandchildren?
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
they all write things in school that they have to write, and they all thankfully say they admire me and
Oh,
for the stands I
course.
take, and they write some very nice things. And I've had many people in the world. One of which is Cesar Chavez. The other is Martin Luther King. I was the first one in the beer business. The union came to see me to negotiate a contract. I said, well, the first thing let's do, let's give Martin Luther King's day off. And they said, well, you don't have any African-American employees. I said, no, but I had Martin Luther King. It just changed the whole demeanor of the negotiations. And it's things like that. Other people in the beer business didn't like me because they had to give a day off, too.
Wow. But taking that stand, and that's interesting, you mentioned you didn't have any African-American employees either.
Well, actually, Martin Luther King Day came the week after the Super Bowl. It was in January. People weren't buying much anyhow. Yeah, it was an easy thing to do, but I just see we had the opening of the Martin Luther King in Washington D.C. and I saw the museum in Atlanta, and I just admired him as and Cesar Chavez has got to be up there also.
Yes, Cesar has certainly, and you know Rudy, his nephew, and also I was mentioning before the show how I'm from Atlanta and also known the King family. But you know, when you mentioned that about the mentioning that you didn't have African American employees, has there been concern about diversity among your company as well?
Yeah, well, we do have African American employees now, but Santa Clara County is really devoid of African American people.
I know, 3%. Yeah.
In fact, I was really, I had President Clinton at my home after he was president. It was on behalf of his wife. And I was so embarrassed that there weren't African Americans. And I invited 3 of my employees to come, you might say. And you go to all these nonprofit dinners and everything. There are not African Americans there, and it's embarrassing.
Well, it certainly has changed. I know when I was community relations director at NBC, first it was 5%, then 3.5% in the Valley. And I think part of what you're talking about and what we're looking at with foreclosures and changes have impacted in so many ways, disproportionately, for people of color.
So my wife always says, give him a minority, he's going to support him for any elected office. And I really believe in that. I was very big with affirmative action against Ward Connerly a few years ago. And I speak out that
which can make you somewhat unpopular among a number of people in your circle because of that.
At United Way, when I went broke, I had a fellow in charge of our finance committee with a major accounting executive, major firm, and he told Worth magazine, he said, I didn't want to be the jerk to stand up. I'm always the jerk that stands up because I'm compelled to.
Yeah.
And I have to.
Yes. What do you do in addition to your vision? What do you do that brings you pleasure in life?
Oh, you know, I've been sick for the last 70 years. I've got Parkinson's disease and myasthenia gravis. So I really, I love to travel, and I can't travel very much anymore. I guess my orientation is with my family, my grandchildren, in my home, and I still attend board meetings. I have a lot of people come to see me at my home where I can, instead of being on a board.
Right.
And I tell people, I'm not the person for a board because someone will say Mike Fox doesn't show up, so why should I? So I don't like to go on boards anymore, but I try to be active in things.
Well, and you're very active, and that's another inspiration too, because despite having the medical challenges that you do, you continue to do so much, and that can inspire others who are also grappling with the very same things.
I have parties at my home for nonprofits and political people.
Yes.
Big one was President Clinton.
Right.
And I've had governors and everyone, and a lot of nonprofits to engage people.
Yes. Well, you've done a lot for the community.
Thank you, Janice.
And it's been great to talk with you. I really appreciate
it. It's wonderful talking to you. And thank you so much for accommodating me today.
Oh, certainly, absolutely.
We'll look forward to seeing this.
Absolutely. Well, we wanted to take that time. I want to make sure before we go, we have a little bit of time left, but I want to make sure that you have the full screen information. You've heard about ME Fox, which is Mike's company. If you'd like to contact them, obviously he said business is good, but also if you want to reach Mike, the website is there, and that's where you can also contact him through Terrence, the president, and others on the website. The information is there as well. So, Mike, thank you.
Janice, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk with you.
A real pleasure talking to you.
And you have inspired so many. We
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. Yes.
That is a pleasure.
Yes. And we want to thank you for joining us. That's our show. I'm Janice Edwards. And thank you for all that you do to make our Bay Area the great place that it is. Join us again next time. And if you have questions about anything that you saw in today's show, want to reach us, that's bayareavista.com. And you can email me there as well if you'd also like to reach Mike. So we look forward to seeing you next time. See you then.
Area Vista, Vista. Bay Area, Bay Area Vista, Vista. Bay Area, Bay Area Vista.
Conklin Brothers of San Mateo has provided in-studio flooring for Bay Area Vista. Conklin Brothers' motto is, "You can count on us."